but Puccio is out. Welcome, basketball fans. Welcome, basketball fans, to the HoopsTracker podcast, the go-to podcast for Colorado basketball. We are kicking off week 8, but this is the first official week of being able to play games. Wow, it's been fun. It's exciting, and we cannot wait for the season to get kicked off. Remember, we do interviews. We do players of the week, weekly standouts. We're talking to commitments, reviewing games, preseason polls, etc. Be on the lookout. It's really exciting to see what's going on in Colorado football and basketball. But big news coming out of Green Mountain, breaking news. Mike Puccio is out. Jordan Degnan is in. We are not sure of all the details of going on, but we will get to it and we will let you know. So congrats on Jordan picking up a team that's probably going to make it back to the Final Four. This team is loaded with talent. But let's kick off and let's talk about some games last week. The first game of the season officially was Florence versus Canyon City. We'll get details on that score later tonight. Foundation games, Cherry Creek at Chap. Chap puts it to Creek, 75. Wow. Huge win for Chap. This gauges where is Creek on that scale, because Chap, one of the top 4 teams in the state in the HoopsTracker rankings. And then Regis at Rangeview. Eric Fiedler versus this Rangeview crew, and Rangeview wins. But Eric Fiedler, no doubt, the top player in the state of Colorado. And man, it's exciting. And then over the weekend, Fossil Ridge over Lutheran in a big preseason game. And we have more to talk about Fossil Ridge because this team is loaded and they are making a big push. Other breaking news, Zeke Andrews, the Ralston Valley quarterback, pulls his commitment over the weekend. CS fired their head coach a couple weeks ago, hires Jim Mora, and after a conversation, he reopens his recruitment. Wow, that is huge. If I was CU, I'd be all over this kid. How do you get a top-notch player like this with an arm like that and athleticism in a quarterback? And this kid, this young man, he is phenomenal. I would highly encourage CU. Dion, get on that, man. All right, let's talk about games week. We have some big games kicking off on Monday night. Cherokee Trail at Frederick. Why is this a big game? First of all, little friendly rivalry between Coach Brown and the Frederick coach. And, you know, this Cherokee Trail team with Jordan Mitchell and everybody coming back, this team is going to be very dangerous. And Frederick is going to be a dangerous 5A team. So this will be a really good game. Severance at Eaton. This is a big 4A Northern matchup. Yuma at Sterling. I believe that's a 3A matchup. But big things going on December 2nd. Other big games that we haven't listed here, but we're going to be keeping an eye on. Broomfield at Rock Canyon on Tuesday night. Dakota Ridge at Thomas Jefferson. Both of these 5A teams are loaded and have talent. You got Regis at Eagle Crest. You got Peak to Peak at Centaurus for a little crosstown rivalry in Boulder County. Rocky Mountains going down to Legend. Silver Creek at Berthoud. Legacy at Thunder Ridge. And Lutheran at Mullen for a big 5A matchup. Now, December 3rd, you got Windsor versus Liberty. We think this is in the Fossil Ridge Fort Collins tournament. So you got Windsor versus Liberty. You got Denver East versus Mullen, which will be a great game. You got Ralston Valley versus St. Francis Prep out of New York. Man, Coach Matt, you've got a great lineup for this tournament. Fossil Ridge is going to play Prairie View. All great teams in this tournament. There's actually 16. We'll talk more about some of that a little bit later. Now, the Green Mountain tournament, right? We just mentioned, you know, Coach Puccio has been replaced at Green Mountain. The Paul Davis tournament starts this weekend. The Fruta tournament starts this weekend. I know Horizon and a handful of teams are going over the mountain range to go play Fruta in that tournament. And Jet Wells, can't wait to see that young man back on the court. He's a phenomenal player. All right. On December 4th, Rock Canyon, Mountain Vista are flying to Utah for a big tournament out in Utah. HoopsTracker will be there. Rangeview's going down to Arizona to play against Perry, but some local games here. We got Grandview at Longmont. I believe that's in the Green Mountain tournament. You got Rock Canyon's going to play Bingham. You got A West playing CT. You got Regis at Lewis Palmer. Horizon at Fruita. Lutheran versus Grand Junction, also in that big Fruita Grand Junction tournament. Thunder Ridge at Northfield. That's going to be a really good game. Eagle Crest is coming up here and playing at Legacy. And then Mountain Vista is playing Corner Canyon, which is the tournament in Utah. Now, Friday the 5th, we've got some big things, but the biggest local game I would encourage folks to watch is Denver South versus Columbine. 2 top 10 matchups. We're going to see where everything lays. Everybody's going to gauge themselves, where they're at, where they need to work on. But Lutheran's going to be at Fruita. Palisades is going to play Monarch and the Fruita tournament. You've got Severance at Resurrection Christian, which is a big rivalry up north. You've got Rangeview at Perry in Arizona. And then I believe Mullins there's a big tournament this weekend. But Highlands Ranch and Windsor are also in that big northern event. And then on the 6th, you've got Pueblo West versus Pueblo South. That's going to be a huge game down south, huge rivalry. Monarch's going to play Fruita, and Windsor Charter is going to play Denver Christian. Now, Windsor Charter, new coach, Bruce Dick, not new, but he's back. And they're going to go down and play Denver Christian, which made a big run last year. So we're going to see where everything plays. It's going to be fun to watch. Let's talk about the rankings. People have been asking a little bit about some of the rankings, and we took a little bit of heat. We took a little bit of heat on our 3A rankings, but all I have to say is, look, we're setting the record straight. We don't use AI to generate our rankings. We use math. We use statistics. We look at players where they're at. So for some of those folks who think we're throwing stuff into AI, which I'll actually test it out, but we'll let you know where things fall. But on the 6A side, you got Rangeview, Shap, you got Mountain Vista, Ralston Valley, Denver South, Thunder Ridge. Look, there is so much parity across Colorado basketball this year. It's anyone's to take, and it's going to be a fun season to watch. You've got tons of talent. You've got an influx of players, at the 4A level, St. Mary's, Eagle Ridge Academy, Timnath, peak to peak. I really think this peak to peak team could win it all. You got Prospect Ridge, Kent Denver. Yes, they have Caleb Fay, but they are missing a lot of other players, but they look pretty good in the fall league. We'll see where that plays. What about 3A? This is where we took a hit, right? Where's Strasburg? Well, Strasburg, they're there. You just have to remember, a lot of teams return a lot of different players. I believe Yuma, Windsor Charter, Banning Lewis, all over 50 points a game. They lost maybe one, if any. Strasburg loses Coach Bowler's son to college, and he was like 20 plus points a game. Well, when you lose 20 points a game, someone's got to fill that gap, right? So these are preseason rankings. Just take your time. Look, we know that these will change, but this is our best guess. And on 5A, holy smoke, let's take a look at those 5A rankings, because I think with Windsor, Green Mountain, they met this summer. Windsor won both times. Falcon, Mesa Ridge, Stanley Lake, Lewis Palmer, Montrose, Longmont, Silver Creek. Trust me, there are a ton of teams that could win out and win the state championship. And really, at the end of the day, who's going to be hot in February and March? Because if you're not hot, then you probably won't be winning any state titles. So with that, those are our rankings. We're pretty excited about them. You can see some of our other ones. For 1A and 2A, look, we got Lyman, you got Sanford, Denver Academy, Twin Peaks, Golden View. 1A, you've got Peach, returns a lot of Fuchs. You got Dubuque, you've got McClave, you've got Stratton. There's a ton of teams. HoopsTracker is your source for Colorado basketball. We're doing interviews, player rankings, players of the week. We've got a ton of activity going, and we're doing it not just for boys, but we're doing it on the girls' side too. So remember, HoopsTracker is your source for Colorado basketball, and we're going to see you in the gym. Can't wait for the season to get rolling. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Take care.